it's covered with dirt and debris. And in that corner, there's an electrical outlet that they took temporary power for the job site. And that's underwater. And I'm concerned about some kid playing in the water there and getting electrocuted. But, you know, you can read through all this email correspondence and everything. And all I wanted was to point out an issue, and nobody listened. I'd get feedback, well, we'll turn it over to the engineer, let them look at it. Or I'll turn it over to the attorney and look at it. Nobody's ever gotten back with me. It's just really, really frustrating. And the biggest problem is back in February, I was corresponding with Mr. Legale and his attorney, which he brought out there when I challenged him for driving across the property and everything. And I contacted the city, who's got the permit? Mike Love Construction. I have multiple emails from Mike Love Construction that says he has nothing to do with this project and quit contacting me. And I notified you guys back in February of that. You would have thought the project should have been coming to Screeching Hall when you were notified of that. But nothing, you know, he just kept building whatever he wanted to build. And I know he did some things on the east side that caused problems. He's got drainage problems on my side. And all I'm asking you guys is to tell him to build it per the plans like the architect and engineer designed. Otherwise, it's going to continue to cause problems.
Thank you, Ed.
I
Have
don't
we
know who
issued?
gets this. I'd like to submit this.
I'll take it from Ed. Thank you.
Can you write your first and last name and your address, please?
What now?
You need to write your first and last name and your address, please.
Have we issued an occupancy permit?
ABCD, I believe, has already issued an occupancy permit on that.
Okay. Okay, Ed, we'll get back with you, all right?
Thank you, General.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Go. Moving on. Okay. Item E1. Micah?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I just want to introduce Joshua Gaines for our building inspector and code enforcement. So the city's happy to announce that we finally filled that position for code enforcement and building inspector. Joshua interviewed well for the position and demonstrated a willingness to help the city grow. The code enforcement building inspector position at a time the city got his experience in significant growth. Joshua comes to the city from Wichita Public Works Department as a senior fiscal analyst. Prior to serving at Wichita, he worked at Hodge Acquisitions and Operations in the Salvation Army as a business administrator. He has his bachelor's of business administration from Friends University and a master's of public administration from the University of South Dakota. We're excited to have him join our growing organization. He's somewhere around here. There he is. Josh, stand and be recognized. So,
just want to say, cherish the opportunity to be here, cherish the opportunity to serve, and I will demonstrate that in my work ethic and try to be the best example I can be for the city of Auburn. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Josh.
Glad to hear you, sir.
this is E1. So this is a Battle Public board appointment. So I think Ashley is around here somewhere. It's actually here. Do you want me to just read this or do you want to read it? Are you sure? All right. So my name is not Ashley, but Ashley is a 31-year-old busy full-time working mom of 4. Her oldest, Aiden, goes to Gonner Middle School where he wrestles and plays cello. She's got 2 middle daughters, Phoenix and Lucy, who attend Clark Davidson Elementary. Phoenix cheers her daughter. They both have danced at the Revival Dance Studio for a few years now. They have a baby Valen, will be 2 in June. Behind her, originally from Wichita area, but decided to get married in 2017. They wanted to find a community where their children would be safe and life would be a little slower than the city. After looking at schools, housing, and outward appearances, they decided to move to Goddard. They sold their Wichita home and made the move to Goddard at the end of 2019, right before the start of the pandemic. It was a crazy time for them, like everybody else. They are new to the community. Schools are closing down, husbands laid off, and they are attempting to regain some type of normalcy. They have homeschooled their oldest 2 and quickly realized now that they're thankful their oldest to be teachers and was in fact cut out for the job. Life went on. I went back to the work at Spirit. She went to work and started planning procedures around here. At the end of 2020, they were starting to find out that too. Okay, there's a lot of information here. I don't know if we really need this much information, but it's good information to have. I'm just going to skip forward. Some more information. Feel free to read the gym packets. I think they want to go ahead and appoint Ashley to the position. I think that's what they want to decide to do.
Well, I think we're happy to have her, right? Do we need to make a motion to appoint her?
Actually, if you then make a motion to appoint, I think it'd be helpful if you did, just to make a motion to appoint. I'm not sure we've done it before in the past, but.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Ashley Pierce to the library board.
Motion by Keaton,
Second.
second by Aubrey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Very good. So I have the consent agenda.
You guys have any questions on the consent agenda?
I like a motion that approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Brent,
Second.
second by Keaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Very good.
You want to read the bio again there, Micah?
It's over. This is item H.1. This is an IRB public hearing for Camp Bow Wow. We're going to go through the details of the IRB. There's really a lot of information here. We do have Matt Long, city treasurer, myself, community development director, Kevin Cowan, doing 1,000. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask them at this time. We will just go through a quick background information. As mentioned, this is going to be a public hearing, so at the very end of the presentation, the mayor will call the public hearing to order, in which case anybody at any time can comment as they come forward and state their first and last name, where they reside, and any comments that they have. These are requirements that state law. So, May 15, 2023, Michael Schroeder, Camp Bow Wow asked the city council to consider a partnership for the request of additional revenue bonds, which are considered IRBs, for the financing and construction of Camp Bow Wow. The city council voted to formally consider the request. This required a cost-benefit analysis, CBA, to be conducted, and a public notice to be sent out, scheduling a time for a public hearing to review the request. An application for the request was submitted along with the fee of $2,800, covering the cost of the bond attorney, as well as required publication in the CBA. This is a public hearing. We need to formally call the order to review any comments, which we will have later. The governing bodies determine if they want to consider an IRB partner control for Camp Bow Wow, and some of the questions to be considered is this business unique, or is there other businesses that provide similar services? Do you want to try to avoid any unfair advantage? What kind of jobs are being created? High-end jobs, medium or low-end jobs? But for understanding, if not but for the incentive of the project to be able to move forward on its own. The state law of applicable business, how can we receive tax abatements? Some of this information we've already gone over before, but it's good to review. Camp Bow Wow's NAIC, which is North American Industry Classification, listed as 8.8.2, which is not listed as prohibited use. What are the opportunity costs? So this is, if you spend, like I said, like $100,000 over here, you can't spend the same $100,000 over here, so that's called opportunity costs. Any questions for bond counsel, financial advice, the treasurer, community development director, feel free to interrupt at any time, and feel free to ask anyone of these questions. The results of the cost-benefit analysis, CBA, are going to be presented below. These results have been discussed with Wichita State University Center for Economic Development and Business Research, which is CEDPR. The thoughts and comments presented do not reflect the thoughts and comments of the school, and only reflect the thoughts and comments of the Economic Community Development Director, being myself. The full CBA is attached to H.1A. So these are some comparisons I did between Camp Bow Wow and the Star Bond development. We did offer an IRB on the Star Bond. Camp Bow Wow is asking for something similar. You will notice here predominantly that they have listed 20 jobs. WSU put an 80% substitution in there. Substitution means basically if you have a creation of jobs and you're saying you created like 10 jobs, let's say, but there's a similar job market. In the job market, there's similar jobs of the same type, then they're going to substitute it. You don't basically create a job, let's say for McDonald's and a job for Burger King, they kind of cancel out. It's considered a zero-sum game. So they put an 80% substitution in here. And the reason that's going to come up later is because you see they have 20 jobs here, but then later it drops to 4 because 80% of 20 is then 16, so they remove 16 of the jobs from that consideration. We had 0% substitution for the Star Bonds. When they listed 351 jobs, they said that there's zero substitution in that job market. So that's just something to be taken into account. So here's the impact summary. We've taken this from WSU. We got the same report for the Star Bond, so it's a good comparison to look at the WSU report for Star Bond and the WSU report for Camp Bow Wow. As I mentioned, they dropped 16 jobs, even though they're doing 20 drops to 4. Direct earnings versus total, and then at the bottom you have jobs and earnings. These are a multiplier. So when the business actually goes into place, there's gonna be, for every one job that's created, there's gonna be 0.26 jobs created as sort of ancillary jobs to help support that, and so that's something to take into account. They had the same thing over here for the Star Bond, where they had 1.39, so for every one job the Star Bond created, 0.39 jobs would be created outside of that business to help support that business. Over a 10-year period, this is the present value of net benefits. We also call that a net present value. Basically, $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow due to inflation. And so when you calculate, there's a basic calculation for that, but you have to look at the cash flow that you're having over a certain amount of time, taking into account inflation. Those dollars lose value over time. And so when they take the net present value of what the city is contributing at $69,550 versus what the public costs are, so what we're going to be gaining versus what we would be giving up, the return on investment is 94.5% over that 10-year period. And typically you want to see something that's over 100%, because if I give you $100 over a 10-year period, I expect to get $100 back plus my investment, so you should see 100% and greater, so like 110, 120% or greater. You can see here on the start only a 644% return. When you take out the net present value, this is your benefit with cost ratio. Basically how much benefits are we getting versus how much our costs are, and that's just the simplification there. And then you have a ratio, and that ratio over here is 7.45 is 1.94. So they took out the inflation aspect over here, and this is just saying basic value. So I ran some similar numbers based on the rate at 3.5% given for inflation, for net present value. I got the 3.5% from WSU, so I asked them what kind of rate they were using, and they responded as 3.5%. So here's the abatement per year. So at 100%, 90, 80 as staggered going down over a 10-year period. We generally won't see any cash flow until we get to about year 8. And as mentioned, WSU is saying we won't actually see a general cash flow over a 10-year period. So there's some, just how you budget the numbers a little bit to try to see how we would come up with a positive cash flow. If we had a 90% abatement on year 1 and then had 0% abatement for the rest of the years, we would see a positive cash flow at year 3. So land and the total improvements combined would be 1.8 million, and then assessed at 25% because this commercial would be 464,560. City property taxes is 3.9 mils, so that'd be around 14,544. City sales tax at 1% of the total improvements, which would be the 1.5, is around $15,000. So it was noted that the sales tax abatement is roughly equivalent to money over abated property taxes for city property taxes. And so financial considerations, the application fee has been collected to cover the portion of legal expenses, publications, the publications requirement, cost benefit analysis to staff time. The resolution has been drafted for consideration. Bond County, Calvin, Gilmore, Val, include us from legally speaking. It is recommended that given the shortfalls in cash flow over time, the cost benefit analysis that myself, being community development director, would recommend approving the sales tax abatement only and not approving the property tax abatement. But as mentioned, this is a discussion for City Council to make a deliberation on. And at this point, I would ask the mayor to call the public hearing to order. And you can have the public hearing, after which anybody's welcome to comment. They're going to say first, last name, or reply. And you can close the public hearing and go from there.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this matter? None? Give it a little bit more time.
I just have a couple questions on the numbers. Yeah, I'm curious.
First, last name, or reside.
I'm George Lee. I live at 227 North Spruce here in Goddard. When you're talking about the, can't let him talk a second. The projections and the employee numbers that in the projection were 8 and then 12 the second year. And so then you did the fuzzy math that they're calculating just on the average of 4.
You're talking about for the impact summary?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's generated by WSU.
Sure. So I guess my question is on the numbers that you're running, does that include projections with 4 people in terms of staff? Or
So the projections, so the staff impact summary here, that's generated by WSU, when we do the fuzzy math over here, which it's fair to call it fuzzy, this is just looking at benefits in terms of sales on purchases at 1% and sales on over here on property taxes and then total benefits. So this is the sum of everything that we get from page 9 of operation costs. So when you have a sale, 1% sales on purchases and then 1% sale on sales, when they're actually, because they have sales here and purchases here, 1% on top of that, so that's what the city's gonna get. 6.5% goes to the state, 1% goes to the county, and the city gets 1%. So we get that from page 9 of operation costs, which was generated by WSU, with information presented by the developer. So 1% of this, 1% of, you see that? Over there?
Yeah.
So 1% here, 1% here. That's just from page 9 of the operation costs, which is on the agenda packet. And then you have property taxes, and then you have total benefits. And you have to remember that the property taxes here, if you paid 100%, we're not getting any property taxes. And then it staggers us. Now we're getting 10% of the property taxes, 20%, 30%. Then you have total benefits, and then you have the cost per year, so what's costing the city, and then you have the net present value over here.
So then, so what's the purpose of the WSU study as it relates to the project?
It's a requirement of the city.
So, but if the numbers are really somewhat not, or somewhat inaccurate, I mean, how do you measure that? I mean, anybody can do a study and put a bunch of numbers together.
Right.
Projections of sales, I mean, those numbers that you're using up there, does that come from the study, or is that?
Exactly. So the numbers come from the study, and they work in partnership with the developer. So the WSU, the Wichita State University, generates that report, like pulling the information from the developer, and they work in tandem.
So if the numbers aren't accurate and way off.
Well, we don't know if they're inaccurate or if they are. It
Well,
could be accurate.
let's say 2 years from now, do we go back and check and make sure that the projections were, I mean,
No, we're not gonna go back and check.
so why even take the report and the information? I mean, it's just, I could say anything to make this thing go, if you don't, there's no reconcilement and to look back to see that the project is accurate. You got 531 jobs on the Starbond project. I'm sure there are 500 people working out there yet. So, I'm just questioning the accuracy of the numbers.
Sure.
And what do you do if they're not accurate? I'm just like I said, I just got questions, so.
Perfect. Well, thank you, I appreciate you.
But what are you guys gonna do if the numbers aren't accurate? That's maybe a better question.
Well, I got a different direction that I even like to head. Though, you can go back to those numbers, Mike.
These numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So generally, we said these are fuzzy numbers, well, I think that's correct. But at the end of the day, I think the whole reason why we do incentives is to help businesses, is to grow our community. When we say, well, we're not gonna get a return on investment, well, that's not the goal. The goal is to bring businesses at Goddard. That's my opinion. That's the most simplest form, I believe. That's why we have these tools at our disposal. Giving a property tax abatement, I think is the true meat of things, of course. And I think that we need to support the businesses that want to come to Goddard. Ken Bow Wow, can you come up here real quick? I got one question for you. Why did you want to come to Goddard?
Just seeing the growth at Goddard, what you guys have done for the city council and the growth that the city's going to experience over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's why I chose to come here and not go to Mays or the east side of Wichita. Because I see it already there, and here it's coming.
Well, and wouldn't we want to support business that wants to capitalize on this growth? Wouldn't we want, we've already discussed this, setting precedences, right? Well, we've given property tax abatements to businesses like Dove Estates, staggered 10-year property tax abatement. We've given them to the Starbond, as Mike had mentioned. So I don't think this would be an unusual thing. I know Micah is saying the sales tax exemption only, but I would tend to go a different direction, that we need to support the businesses. Goddard is not a business that we are looking for a return on investment. We are simply doing this to bring more businesses to Goddard. I know these numbers are fuzzy numbers, and they're saying we're not going to get a return, but that's not the point. The point is to bring businesses here. And so I'm going to advocate that we do the 10-year staggered property tax abatement along with the sales tax exemption. Do you guys have any input on that?
You're exactly right, Mayor. It's about growing the business, it's about growing the community. And you have to do things like this in order to attract the businesses, so.
There's a sign in front of the Bow Wow business that says financing provided by Central National Bank. Did you have financing in place before the bringing home things back?
Yeah, we have to, yeah.
So in essence,
I think your comments are over, sir.
well,
So,
I mean, you're basically.
Just real quick, if you wanted to comment, it's an open comment, but you have to come back up and.
Well, that's fine then, I'll come back out.
Yeah, that'd be a requirement.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Just trying to understand. I'm not against growth. I made loans in this community before you were born. I financed the building that Beacon Community Church is in. I financed the original loan that Russ's Hardware store. So I understand growth. And I get a little tired of the lectures that all we do is grow. I mean, there's got to be balance to this. And when you give away money, that's money that can be used to do other things. I mean, the decision to come here and the growth that's been created just didn't happen while you were on city council. It's been going on for a long time. It started really with the building of the high school back around in 1997, 96, when we first moved here. Growth was also pushed in this direction when the water treatment plants there in the Mays area, they weren't able to issue housing. We build housing, and so the Seasons and St. Andrews started because builders moved down here to build. So growth has been going on a long year without giving everything away. I mean, you gave away, you gave the coffee shop, the fourth one, you rebated their fees after they paid them. I do believe we have another doggy daycare center in town, in the industrial park. Somebody's got that business already. So you're providing benefits to this gentleman. And I have nothing against you personally at all. But where's the fairness of the person who already is in business here, and you're giving this person some really good benefits? I mean, if I had my business here already, and this is the second one coming into town, I'd be a little frustrated with you guys. Because you're getting an advantage and benefit to a business that's going to compete directly against me. I know Russ probably wouldn't like it if you give some benefits for Lowe's or Home Depot to move and build a big building right behind the store. So, I mean, I'm not against growth. And every time I get up here and speak, you make some speech about growth. And I understand growth, but there's more to running a city than just growing. We have infrastructure issues, deferred maintenance things that haven't been taken care of for a long time. And you just your focus is just way too narrow.
Okay. Thank you for your opinion. I guess I'll talk about one thing. I wake up every morning and I look in the mirror and I know how young I am. So no one needs to tell me how young I am. I'm aware of the youth I hold, but I also know that in the almost 4 years I've sat on this council, I have participated in almost doubling the size of this city. You got 3 council members here that have done that. And that type of mindset is the mindset that we need for the city. Another thing is, when you talk about the Seasons, 183rd and Kellogg area, well, there was incentives. An incentive just like this one was given to Dove Estates. Okay? And all the time I keep talking about growth because that is exactly what we need to focus on. Because the only way we're going to repair our roads, the only way we're going to be able to buy new equipment for our public works department, the only way we're going to be able to purchase new equipment for our police department is to grow our tax base. And the more amenities that we have in Goddard, the more people who are going to want to move here. It's pretty simple, folks. And this is the reason, comments like that are the reason why we took so long to grow. So, do I have any more comments from council? Do I need to close the?
If you want to, if no one else is wanting to comment, we can close the public hearing.
Russ?
Russ wants to speak for himself.
First and last name, when you reside, public hearing is closed. Okay. Russ Mullen, 19894 West Mullen Drive.
Locked in.
Just a pen, but not a dagger.
Terrible throw.
Building that was referenced that I own, how many of the building is 24-ish years old? How many of those businesses are still here? None. Zero. Not one. What is the backbone of this country so far as businesses go? Is it Amazon?
Small business.
Small to medium businesses, period. They need every leveling that they can possibly get. And we're not talking about taking money from anyone. It's a small diversion in the big picture. You have a business that goes the distance because they're able to build a foundation within a community and build that trust and that rapport. They'll be here for a long time, such as I will. I didn't approach council when I put quite a lot of money into this community, my own money. I didn't think council was willing to do it. I thought the negativity that I got from that, from council at that time, was profound. I have not found that to be the case now. I implore you to keep supporting small to medium business and big business too. If you have Amazon that wants to come out and put a large scale facility here, help them too. If you want to put Lowe's right behind my building, I'll survive. Give them that same advantage that Camp Bow Wow is asking for as well.
Good for you, Russ. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Okay, do I close?
If nobody else wants to comment at this time, we can close the public hearing.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
Very good. It's just deliberation of the city council.
Now, you guys have any input? Of course, I think you guys know what I want. I want to give a staggered 10-year property tax payment with a sales tax. I think that's what we need to do as a community. I think we've heard different opinions. Do I have any discussion on that?
No, I think it's, I agree with you. And because it's, when you're able to help out new businesses, you want that business to be a sustaining business over the years. You know, that we can help as a community for those businesses to get in here and by the abatements, and then why not? We should, because they're gonna contribute for decades to this community. So I agree with you, Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm looking forward to Camp Bow Wow being here. If you notice, when you're driving down Kellogg, they're already here. They're building. It's not like they're not here yet. So at this point, us not helping them is us failing a Goddard business. This is now a Goddard business, and I think that it's our job as a city to try to help our businesses grow, because what I would hate to see is us say, well, we're not going to help you now, but they're already here, and 5 years from now Camp Bow Wow is closed and we've got another building just sitting there. So, yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor.
I agree with what Russ said about small business, medium business. It's the backbone of America. That's just who, I don't know, when I think of America, that's who I think of, is the small business owner who's trying to feed their family and their employees, and these IRBs and tax abatements and these things were created to benefit those people. And I think with the growth that we do have coming, it's to get people to buy here, to build here, we need these businesses. So
I think I bring up a point as well. I'm on a, recently, don't want to bore you, but I'm from a small town in West Texas, Memphis, Texas. Years ago, they had an opportunity to have the Walmarts come in, to have the prison system to come into their communities. Their council voted all that down. This town today is a ghost town. They're looking at, well, it's just going to take, Walmart coming in is going to close, small businesses. Maybe so, but it also creates new opportunity. There's other small business created to those aspects that's going to support those things. Things evolve in time. So these are discussions that I've been in this past week, and it's sad to see that over the past 50 years. A little small town of Memphis making bad decisions, because when you make decisions, you got to look toward the growth of the city. And they just didn't do that years ago. So that's some of the residual outcome of not making these kind of decisions.
Well, Brent?
So yeah, I looked at building one time in Wellington. They were gonna offer me a 10-year tax. And, but then I went ahead and bought existing in Wichita, so I didn't even get anything with that. So yes, when you're building something new, you should be able to go forward.
Okay. So I guess I'll make the motion so I can define it better. We'll have a 10-year staggered tax abatement. At 10 years, we'll have 100% tax. And then we will also have a sales tax abatement.
how long is this?
How long are we currently having a sales tax abatement?
Sales tax, I think one of those, it's just a construction.
Yeah, okay. But is there a time period on it, or is that already defined?
Just the duration of construction.
Okay. Okay, so I make the motion.
And Mr. Mayor, as far as staggered, you're saying the first year 100%, second year 90% abatement, and working it down to 0 at year 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be 10 if you're 10. Year 11 would be 0.
Is that correct?
That's what the chart says. The fuzzy numbers say that.
Well, at year 10, we would have 100%.
So year 1, there's 0. They pay 0 taxes at year 1, 10% at 2, 20, 30.
Okay, yeah, right.
So year 11 is
Yeah,
when
year 11
they pay
is-
100%.
Do I have a second?
You clear in the math?
Are you clear?
Yep.
Okay.
Fuzzy numbers, we're good.
Then I'll second, sir.
Okay, second by Aubrey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Here, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Councilmember Fish,
Yes.
Councilmember Leyland,
Yes.
Mayor Larkin,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Collins.
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes, staggered 10 years, full sales tax abatement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is item H.2 on the Mayor City Council. This is the site plan dispute for the pickleball building. So, quick background, on February 13th, 2023, the planning commission reviewed the site plan for the 6S Sports Bar and pickleball buildings. It was mentioned that the subdivision regulations require facade covering out to the soffit of any type of material or composition that was approved by the planning commission. And this would be the case if the building was a standalone building and comprised almost exclusively of metal. Subdivision regulations allow the building to be metal only if it is not significantly exposed to the public, which would be hidden behind a fence or another building. The two buildings presented were connected by an awning, and the pickleball building had a wainscoting on the lower portion of the building. The question arose, was it two separate buildings, only one building, and did the wainscoting show significant facade covering since the metal was not the traditional R panel that is historically type of material the City Council and Planning Commission wanted to avoid in the past? After some deliberation, it was determined since the building was significantly exposed, and since they believed it was two separate buildings, the pickleball building should have more covering. The facade then, what was presented, The subdivision regulations allow variance to forego the requirements of facade covering. However, the planning commission said they did not want to consider variance for facade covering. Subdivision regulations allow some of the dispute decision of the planning commission before the city council, but not for variances that are not considered, they are considered final. Knowing that this developer would like to dispute the approval site plan as being unreasonable in its requirement of additional facade material for covering. The governing body's determined if they want to consider vetoing the planning commission's decision for requiring additional facade material as a covering. Article 11-102B says any development director shall make a determination of the project is reviewed by the planning commission. So they give you wide, some of the regulations give you wide discretion for site plans. And so anytime it says a site plan is required, it comes up to me if I want to present that site plan to the planning commission. Typically, I present all site plans to the planning commission because we want to have high transparency and it's easier if we publish an agenda packet and it becomes public so people can review the projects and they can see what's coming up. And so that's why I typically take all of the site plans to the planning commission. Article 11-104B, all private and public principal land use shall submit site plans and other required drawings. See property for approval by the planning commission, single family duplexes, unless allowed to arrange for the situation. Site plan may be considered concurrently with application of rezoning ordinance and special uses. Article 11-108.4.B, materials shall be selected for suitability for the type of building and design in which they are used. Buildings shall have the same materials or those that are architecturally compatible in use for all building walls and other exterior building components, whether wholly or partly visible from both ways. Metal structures for primary or accessory buildings shall have a facing wrapped with materials such as stone, brick, stucco, or other approved materials of any size that abutting the street or is considered significantly exposed to the public. It must be wrapped with some level of the building. This shall be for commercial and industrial buildings only. Residential structures shall be not applicable to primary residences. More than shall be acceptable for accessory uses to residential property must comply with Article 6. Anyone desiring to avoid the requirements either partially or full comply for a variance to the planning commission. So you can apply for a variance to fulfill the site plan requirements for a facade wrap. However, if the planning commission says they're not going to consider a variance, it's pretty much a done deal. They can't dispute a variance. They can't say it's unfair that the planning commission denied variance and take it to city council. And the reason for that is the legal requirements that you'll see under Article 10.05. And basically, I'm jumping to the legal considerations so you can see why. Finality and judicial review decisions in any order or determination of the board on appeal for decision of variance or conditional use as an exception shall be final decision shall be subject to judicial review but not appealable to the planning commission or the governing body. The reason it says not to the planning commission is because we used to have a design review committee and then that got disbanded. So now all design review is done strictly by the planning commission. So if they say they're not going to consider a variance, you can't take it to the governing body. Any person, official, or governmental agency, jointly or separately, be satisfied by the decision of the board may present to the county district court a petition duly verified stating that such decision is illegal, in whole or in part, specifying the grounds of illegality and asking for relief thereupon based on termination reasonableness of any such order or determination. Such petition shall be filed with the court within 30 days of the date of filing the final decision of the community health director, being myself. So Robert Cornwell Morris Lang reviewed this text and agreed that only a formal complaint filed in district court would be acceptable to try to negate the decision of the planning commission for a variance. So that's why it's very specific language in the subdivision regulations under Article 10.105. Other than that, typically you could dispute almost anything the planning commission has approved by coming to the city council saying they're being unreasonable. It just turns out that you can't dispute a variance, but they can dispute the site plan. So since the planning commission said we have approved the site plan with certain contingencies, they can dispute that, take that to city council. So that's what's happening today. Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into it right now, and you're going to see where the dispute comes from. So this is the success which is being proposed: temporary volleyball bubble, the sand sports, and then indoor pickleball. So the question came up: is this one building? Is this going to be one building or two separate buildings? And if this is a separate building, should they be required to have a better facade covering than what is being presented? So that's what's coming up today. So I know that was a lot. Feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any additional questions. This is one concept rendering. This is another concept rendering. So you can see here, this is a 6S sports bar, sand sports. The pickleball building would be over here, but the trees, this rendering doesn't really show pickleball. But it does over here. This is the pickleball building. This is the awning it's connected into. This is the 6S over here. You can see that the wings putting around the side. This is not R panel, it's a different type of metal than traditional R panel. This is the front that you would see from Goddard Road 199. And so they're not screening it with trees or fence, and so the question is if it has to go all the way up to the soffit or the roof covering. is this considered enough of a material to wainscoting here and a different type of metal to be considered an adequate facade cover for that building? So that's kind of the dispute. Is this adequate? And is this an extension of this building? Basically, is this one continuation of the building, or are these two separate buildings, and should this have a different facade cover?
Mike, could you go back to that picture there?
Yeah.
Can I have your point?
Yeah.
So, to simplify it, in my mind, we're arguing over semantics. So this is a whole development here, but Planning Commission says that this does not consider it one building, pretty much. Now, if they were to have made this a walkway, completely connected, would it be considered the same? I would consider it the same building. So we're not even on the same page with the Planning Commission in my mind, because I consider this the same building. And if I go over, they're wanting to do the whole side a different facade because of this little overhang here. Now, tonight, we can pretty much overrule the Planning Commission because we're arguing over semantics over this little line here. Now, I like the looks of it. I have no problem with it. I think it looks like the chicken and pickle out east. And what are you guys think?
I don't know, it's hard for me to wrap my head around why this is even a discussion, I guess. I get that we want things to look nice, we want things to be pretty, but I don't know, to me, I almost feel like we're an HOA right now saying, no, you can't paint your house pink. Well, they're not trying to paint it a gaudy pink. It's a building where people are gonna go inside to play pickleball. I don't see what the big deal is or why it's even a consideration, I guess, in my opinion. I do see where people are gonna be like, well, no, I'm not gonna go there because the brick's not all the way up to the top versus it's 3 feet tall. So I think it looks like a good building. It's not, I don't like the color per se, but I can barely match clothes, so I'm not gonna vote on what color they paint it.
I think we have a larger problem here to discuss, that we're not on the same page with our Planning Commission, because this joint meeting that we wanted to have hasn't happened. We consistently can't apparently talk to one another. So I think that this is a good sign of how we need to fix communication with our own Planning Commission, because this is, in my opinion, kind of ridiculous. So, Micah?
I have a question. How many building permits were pulled for that?
They haven't pulled any yet. There's
How many will be pulled for
two.
that? It will be 2 separate permits?
Yeah.
Aubrey?
I think it looks nice. I mean, I can't believe, I don't know why we're talking about it. I mean, this is my opinion.
Keaton?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think that there's anything wrong. The fact they even put brick on the bottom is kind of nice. You know what I mean? That's fancier than I would have expected. Also, I think it's important to note that when the Planning Commission voted on it, it was 3 of 5. So they weren't. It's not like they were all hardcore in agreement. They were almost split themselves. So, yeah, I think I don't see the reason to hark on somebody who's putting a nice business that's going to bring lots of people. You know, we have those ballparks right next to it. This is going to just continue to bring more business to Goddard. So I don't know why we would want to slow that down at all.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to override pretty much the Planning Commission here.
Yes, option 1 would be veto the Planning Commission, accept the site plan as it was presented with a simple majority, 3 of 5. Either that or accept the Planning Commission's consideration to require additional facade material or 3 table of conversation.
Okay, I'm motion to veto the Planning Commission. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good. He had to step out.
Okay, very good. So that was a veto, planning commission, so site plan will stand as is with no additional requirements. This is item H.3. This is a low bid award for the RCAP, restricted crossing U-turn construction. So the city has been working with Transsystems and the Kansas Department of Transportation, KDOT, on improving the US 400 highway that the city has honored for several years. This conversation revolves around the introduction of traffic flow to the Starbond directly into Crown Drive. This allows for more direct access into the Starbond without having traffic access to Starbond in front of the road from Money Quarter 199 Road. The highway improvement will also have a north access point onto Barber next to Lanier, as well as introduce a sidewalk along North Front Road for the first time. This actually had to get scratched out, so that has to be noted that that exceeded cost requirements. So there is going to be a sidewalk on North Front Road next to the season, so it's not going to run all the way to the first National due to cost increase. This type of development is called an RCAP, which means restricted cost of U-turn, and anticipated costs are around $5 million, excluding design and field services. KDOT is often paid for around $4 million, and anticipated construction costs of the city paying the remaining $1 million in construction costs of any design and field services required by the state. The city received a letter approving the advertising bidding and the project from KDOT on May 31st, 2023. On the board, the city engineer sent out a request for proposals, which is an RFP. On June 5th, 2023, the city had to keep the bids open for 30 days per KDOT requirements. On July 13, 2023, Thursday, the city engineer, public works director, and Transsystems opened the bid for construction, and after the U-turn, the low bidder was Pearson Construction. The city council is now considering approving the low bid to Pearson Construction for construction on the RCAP. This is contingent upon KDOT approving the contractor for the construction. KDOT has to give the final stamp of approval for whoever will be approved. Construction contract time frame is around 180 working days, around 6 months, subject to weather. Finalizing cleanup provisions around 20 to 30 days. Engineers estimate amount for construction was $4.6 million for total road ready for contingency of $460,000 for a total project of $5,067,000. The low bid amount was $4.9 million, so it's underneath the engineer's estimate. This is the RCAP. This is the RCAP generally in total. You're going to see these bump outs where you're actually doing that on the U-turn over this section over here and this section over here. This is Duncan on the Crown, and then Barber, access on Barber over here. It's kind of a zoomed in profile. You can see here that there's a sidewalk along the Seasons right next to the pier. This is a crosswalk area coming down. Traffic is, I've got a lot of questions. Traffic is still east-west on both the north and south Front Road, so you still have east-west traffic and east-west traffic. This area is signalized. There's that bump out. You can see the turnaround arrows right here. You would queue up and turn over here. This bump out is generally considered safer for larger vehicles, especially those that are towing RVs or school buses. So it's considered a safer turnaround area. There are no financial considerations. There are no legal considerations. The recommendation action is to award low bid for construction of Pearson Construction subject to approval of the contractor.
Pretty straightforward. We want to get this RCAP done.
That's right, we're ready.
It's about time. Okay, do I have a motion?
And I'll
A little bit.
add on to it.
Is it all these signal that you're saying?
This is signalized over this area here. Harlan, do you remember the signals? Is this signal for our attorney here and our attorney here?
Yes.
Yeah, so signalized here, here, and here.
It essentially stops the oncoming traffic so that you can make that U-turn out into that bulb out and go back the other way. So there's actually I think three or four signal heads there at different locations along that improvement. So.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to award the low bid for the RCAP construction of Pearson Construction, subject to approval of the contractor by KDOT.
Motion by Sarah, second by Brent. All in favor, say aye.
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 Very good. This is item H.4. This is the standard application waiver fireworks display permit for the Chamber of Commerce. So the Chamber of Commerce would like to request permission for a fireworks display and sound waiver for multiple events. These events are National Night Out Fall Fest, several movie park events, and Christmas on Main Street. All public displays of fireworks within a purpose limits of Goddard must be approved by the City Council in accordance with Chapter 7, Article 3 of the City of Goddard Code. During this event, there may be the use of amplified sound which requires sound waiver such as planning audible in excess of 150 feet. This would require sound waiver ordinance as well to allow such sound amplification. So the different requests would be a movie night on July 28th at 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. That'll be sound waiver. National Night Out event will be on August 11th from 6 p.m. to 9:30. That's the sound waiver and a fireworks display. Movie night on September 23rd, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's the sound waiver. Movie night on October 6th from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's the sound waiver. Fall Festival will be on October 7th from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's the sound waiver and fireworks display. Christmas on Main Street will be on December 2nd from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Sound waiver and fireworks display. City Council is considering approving the fireworks display sound waiver for multiple events for the Chamber of Commerce. There's only one ordinance you'll see in your exhibit, that's because it covers all of it, so it was written as such and approved by City Attorney Robert Courtney Mello, Forest Lane. This analysis just shows Chapter 7 and Chapter 11 verbatim. Financial consideration, small modification costs for the ordinance and legally approved as a form. It's recommended City Council both one, waive the reading of the ordinance with voice vote and approve the ordinance for waiving the sound requirements, Chapter 11, Article 13, loud noise, and approve the fireworks display requirements of Chapter 7, Article 3, fireworks. The Chamber of Commerce has described the area before it's supposed to roll call. Angie Nuns, I believe, is here in the chamber. So if you have any questions about any of these events, feel free to ask her.
We've always done it, so. Do I have a motion to waive the reading first?
Make a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance.
Motion by Keaton, second by Sarah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the ordinance?
Make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Motion by Keaton, second by Sarah. Roll call.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Leland?
Yes.
Mayor Larkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Trailer?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Will be ordinance number 928, excuse me, 928. Thank you very much. This is item 8.5. This is the Summer Ball Showdown fireworks display and sound waiver. So the baseball tournament, Summer Ball Showdown, will be coming to Goddard on August 2nd through the 6th, Wednesday through Sunday. We'll be hosting at the Goddard Genesis Baseball Diamonds this event. We'll have fireworks, amplified music, food, and we'll eventually have a head count of around 15 to 20,000 people over a 5-day period during the event. David Bosch, who is helping run the event, has asked for a waiver of the sound policy fireworks display permit for the event similar to last year. The fireworks will be on August 4th through the 17th at 10:30 p.m. The Summer Ball Showdown link can be found in Exhibit H.5A. This is Chapter 11, Article 13, and Chapter 7, Article 3. You saw this with H.4, so this is going to be redundant. Financially, there's a small publication cost of the ordinance. Legal is covered as a form. You would require waiving and reading the ordinance, and then we're supposed to install the Summer Ball Showdown fireworks display.
Do I have a motion to waive the reading?
Motion to waive the reading of the ordinance?
Motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Keaton. All in favor say aye.
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 Make a motion to approve the waiver of the sound ordinance and the issuance of a permit for a fireworks display for the Summer Ball Showdown event.
Motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Keaton. Roll call.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Leland?
Yes.
Mayor Larkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Trailer?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Will be ordinance number 929. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Item H6 is council's consideration of 2023 street maintenance bids. Each year, there's money included annual budget for street maintenance projects that are non-capital repairs to existing streets and roadways to increase the lifespan and address and repair minor to moderate degradation to the roads. Street maintenance is determined based on the age, condition, and safety of the roadway, including crack sealing, micro sealing, or asphalt rejuvenation, culvert replacement, asphalt milling, and overlay. Best practice indicates that a street pavement preservation application should occur every 5 years on each city roadway. 2011, the City Council adopted the Goddard Pavement Rehabilitation Plan with the goal of rehabbing each of the streets on a 5-year cycle. This is the program here. Starts at the new road and works us all the way through the life of the road for rehabilitation. Generally at a 3 to 5 years, we do some type of a penetrators and seal, crack seal, slurry seal, or other. As we go on, we move on up to larger work such as milling overlays, things like that, all the way to, like I said, complete rehabilitation. The 2023 street maintenance proposal includes 5 projects addressing various street concerns throughout the city. RFPs were hand delivered to six, not 8 prospective bidders. Multiple companies returned bids with Pearson Construction, South Central Sealing, and Holland Paving providing the best bids. The 5 projects are detailed in the following slides. First project is a 2-inch mill and overlay on Main Street from the crosswalk on just south of Santa Fe all the way to 3rd Street. So it will be brand new asphalt all along the central business district down on Main Street. And including taking 2 inches of the surface off, replacing it with brand new asphalt, and of course pre-striping all of that. The best bidder for this is Pearson Construction at a cost of $117,236. Part of that project, we did a little second project on it for Santa Fe, just down the west side of Santa Fe, just south of Mrs. Cole's there. And anybody that's aware of that road knows that we've got a lot of utility cuts there. It's pretty beat up, and we've got some drainage issues. So essentially this second portion of Main Street will include tearing out Santa Fe from Main Street back about 160, 180 feet where the major degradation and alligator cracking ends, and replacing fixing the base and replacing it with new asphalt. And at that time, we'll address the drainage. Pearson Construction was also the best bidder on that, with just under $25,000. Third project is the culvert at Swanee and 23rd Street. Anyone that's been down there will know that that culvert, it's the size of it, it's pretty much gone. We've got a lot of school buses that go through there, at times with trash trucks, RVs and whatnot. And people have told me they're having a difficult time making that turn. And you can see where they've scraped the old asphalt. So it will involve tearing all that out, putting in a wider reinforced concrete pipe culvert, and replacing the new asphalt. The approach will be a little bit wider, have a little bit more room for those buses and whatnot to get around. Pearson again was the best bidder on that at just over $35,000. Other project is Crown Drive. Crown Drive, the life of it is it's right at the place where the asphalt still looks good, but it's getting dry and it can start coming apart and cracking. It's getting alligator cracks, problems like that. So we chose to do this now, or to bring it to council now. It will include edge and crack sealing as needed and micro sealing of the entire road. So it will hit everything from the south frontage all the way down to where Genesis property starts. And South Central Sealing and Paving was the best bidder on that for $40,596.28. And then the final project is really just a small repair at Elk Ridge. We've got a place where the trash trucks have water's gotten under the asphalt. The trash trucks have drove over it, beating it out. It'll be a big, massive pothole. So it's about 513 square feet of damaged cracked asphalt. We're going to have it ripped out, the base repaired, and 8 inches of new asphalt laid on top. Holland Paving was the best bidder on that for $7,695. Here's the detail. Here is detail of the various projects. You'll see total cost comes up to $233,833. We're asking for a 10% contingency, so a total cost of $257,217. Questions?
How soon can they start?
Well, I talked to Max Lane of Pearson. Should be able to hit Main Street in September. Of course, the goal there, we want it done prior to Fall Fest, of course. The other project, we don't know yet. And that was one that I specifically asked about because of Fall Fest. Okay. And really, I think we got a good bid from them on that because they did win Harbor Creek, and they plan to do both those projects at the same time. So the financial cost of this for the total 2023 street maintenance program was $257,217. It will be allocated to street fund, streets administration, and capital. We approved this form. Additional questions? Councilmember Weedman, did you have a question?
No, I wasn't counting that. I'm fine now.
Okay.
Matt, I'm good. Okay.
I would really urge us to look at the timeline if possible, because I was really hoping to do a Main Street market on the 10th of September. And it would suck if there was concrete that got laid that
week.
week.
We definitely do what we can to work around that.
Okay.
we might want to talk about that if it comes to a point where it's going to be later or cause issues with it. We'll discuss that definitely and do what we can.
We'll look at it.
The only thing I would change is that he's got, I told him to do this, was to put it all into the street fund with our budgeted funds, but assuming that we do go over the 200, which we will according to these bids, I transferred excess street funds into capital improvement 2 years ago, so we'll use capital improvement funds, but they're actually from the street fund originally. So that's only alteration I make. You time to say that for a minute.
Well, yeah, what Matt's referring to is normally there's 200,000 budgeted. This went a little bit over, and part of the reason it went over, I added additional projects in case the Hawkins Lane did not go through. We had that on May still. We were possibly tap into that. When these came back with a word, Matt, like I said, you look at the Hawkins Lane.
Well, we had a couple of years ago, we had a year where we did not spend our full allocation. And so in order that we could use it in the future, we transferred it to the capital improvement fund. So it was like 150,000, so we're still well within that appropriation from, I want to say it was 2020.
2019 or
2022 or 2020, whatever it was, we still got that cash available for this project. So.
Well, I'd love to see us fix some of our infrastructure. This is exactly what we need to be doing, so.
And we are aware that there are some other streets in Lieutenant that we already have. Those are capital projects that we will discuss and hopefully get some planning for the future for those as well.
You'll see when we present budget here in a few weeks that we'll be increasing this amount from 200,000. We'll be increasing it over the next 5 or 6 years. Hopefully at least double it, depending on, it's going to depend on growth, but we probably need to do quite a bit more annually than we have been doing, or just knowing that the lane miles of street we have has grown considerably, so we shouldn't be using the same appropriation that we've been doing for 10 years. We need to increase that a little bit.
Right. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion. You just flip before here. There we go. I'll make a motion to award the 2023 street maintenance projects in the amount of $257,217.
Motion by Keaton, second by Aubrey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Evening, Council Mayor. So tonight I am making a presentation for our police department for new in-car cameras and body cameras. Currently we have one system that we're operating with, and those cameras are coming to the end of life, and they're coming to a point where they are not being supported with the current vendor that we have for those cameras. The Government Police Department currently has an in-car camera system in every street patrol vehicle, and each officer carries a body camera on their person to record interactions. Those are issues. There are issues with our current system to include the aging equipment. Data is stored locally, and our storage space is decreasing. Customer service is very lacking, and limitations exist on the functionality of the system. So months ago, I began researching other camera systems, and I found that a company called Utility Incorporated, it would be the most beneficial for our agency. Following a few meetings that I had with them, very in-depth and on-site demonstration, Utility is my recommendation, as well as not just my recommendation. I brought other officers and other supervisors in, so it wasn't just my opinion. They were all in consensus with this system being something they would definitely support. So moving forward with providing our department with the best video evidence capturing capability. One large agency which uses utility cameras is Indianapolis PD, and they've done it since 2004. And one smaller agency around us that utilizes them is Arc City. This slide here just kind of shows you the body cameras. I'm not wearing one tonight, but generally our body camera is attached to the outside of the uniform, either in a clip and pin or a magnet style. Something that's very unique about this camera system is on the shirt or on an external carrier. You can see right there, that is the eye, I guess you could say, of the camera. So once this device, the actual recording device, slides in and locks in place inside that fitted compartment, there's no camera to be knocked off, which happens and will happen if you're fighting with somebody. or running. It has a really sleek look too. Some specific benefits to this system with the in-car cameras and the body cameras is that the camera is built into the shirt of the vest, preventing it from being knocked off. It has immediate wireless offloading, which it's immediately sending it to its home, where it is stored. Okay. Equipment is installed in 90 days, as opposed to some other companies, even large companies, with a 9-month delay. It has a 37-month equipment refreshment. So with this purchase of this camera system, it would be a contract for 5 years. In 37 months, they'll refresh the equipment and continue to swap out if anything occurs. Right now, we have to send a device in to get it fixed, and then we'll get it back in whenever, months later. It has a multitude of camera triggers, such as a holster sensor. Pull the gun out of your holster, the sensor activates the body camera, which can also activate the in-car camera too if you want it to. LiDAR activation, which is very common on all of our systems. A foot pursuit sensor. So based on, it's just like how your watch can work to tell if you're getting steps. You would know if you're in a foot pursuit, it would activate. 911 call, geofencing, so the call came in at 911 to this building, and the officer responded and got close to the building, automatically the cameras would kick on. You wouldn't have to think about turning them on. If an officer goes down, after a certain period of being horizontal, and the camera system would send off an alert saying it was going to go into that alert system. If it isn't deactivated by the officer, then it would send a text message to whoever in our department is signed up to receive those. It could be on-duty officers, it could be me, and then I have the ability, or anybody else on the department would have the ability to light in and see where that person is and what the situation might be. Citizen and police improved interaction through home security camera registration. So if someone lives in town and they have a Ring camera system, they have whatever camera system, they can register that with us. We don't have access to it, but they would register it. We would know that they have a camera system. And then if they want to upload, say, tonight you see someone prowling around your neighborhood and you have a video of that, you can go ahead and actively just send that proactively to us, and we can have a look at that. Okay? In addition, if I'm out taking a report and you have video of some incident you took on your cell phone, I can give you a link and you can send that video to that link, and we can team that up with what other videos go on that case as well. It's the only video system known, and they actually tout how they've been endorsed by the NAACP. It also has some built-in features, optional for certain events if we needed to utilize it, built-in transcription and translation. So, financials, I can explain to you here. The current system like we utilize is paid for, it's not under contract, and we could sell some of those that equipment to some other agencies, so that we would recover a small amount that would just go into equipment reserve. The cost for utility incorporated system to be placed on 12 patrolling vehicles and 14 body cameras for a 5-year contract is $180,000. Seems like a lot. You spread it over 5 years. The initial payment they take is 40%. I think that is $72,000. Yeah. And then the funds from this would come out of the police budget and equipment reserve. So, like I said, a 5-year contract with them. I've been very impressed with the platform is very user-friendly and functionality much better than even what we have right now. And what we have right now is one of the leaders. This is more of a system that's kind of established in Iowa and Indiana, and is slowly spreading.
Well, it sounds like it's not just a camera, it's a tool. It's a safety tool, and
yeah.
I love the idea. We got the money for it, right, Matt? I think any tool that we can have at our disposal to keep our officers safe. I mean, that's worth it.
I mean, it isn't the cheapest, but then again, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So
Are you guys manually having to activate your cameras right now?
Sometimes, light, when you turn on your lights in your car, it syncs with your body camera and will turn on your body camera.
You guys got any more questions, comments?
Sounds great.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 14 in-car cameras and 12 body camera systems at the quoted price of $180,000 over 5 years.
Motion by Keaton, second by Sarah. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, there is request for some additional information for growth and development, and so we provided a subdivision map that you've seen before in the past, for some of those questions, but you've seen this map before, it's just been updated more recently. We have experienced obviously a lot of growth. We have about 47% of our residential lots filled, and 53%, excuse me, 47% of the filled. The color coding shows the different subdivisions in that area. We have also down here. We have 23rd South Edition, and we have the 167 West Edition. This is the Ben Healy development, got a city center. And we have our Bridgewater Maple over here. Elbridge is pretty much full at this point, 100%. We have Spring Hill, St. Andrews, Seasons, Cloverleaf. I believe only really has about 5 lots left, maybe 6. Rustic Creek is well underway. And then we have this Cotton Trails End, which we are in the process putting the addresses for. We have a big one going down here, which we're in the process of putting addresses for. And Dove Landing has 4 lots sold at about that. So well on our way to filling out more of Goddard, and we will have more developments coming down the road. So at this point, we move on to item J, which is economic comments.
Keaton?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I wanted to correct something that I said earlier. In regards to the 6S, when we were discussing it, I had stated that the Planning Commission was split on their vote, and I was incorrect. I misread something that I was seeing, so I just wanted to clear that up and own up to that. They did vote 7-0 in favor of their decision. I do think it's important to note that they continued discussing and said that they would consider a different type of metal immediately after that. So I still feel that we made the correct decision, but I did want to be upfront and let you all know I was incorrect on that statement. With that said, Main Street Market was awesome. I know it's been a few weeks since we've all seen each other, so at this last market we had, I'm forgetting numbers, 58, thank you. We had 58 vendors, and at this point we've brought 77 different vendors to the city of Goddard this summer. So that's been awesome. Thank you all so much for coming out to that and supporting local business, and look forward to 2 more here in August and September. I feel like we're making a lot of headway. I know maybe some people don't feel like Goddard was stagnant for a while, but I do. And so we're going to fix that, and we're going to continue to move forward and take care of what we have here while we continue to grow.
Sarah?
I don't have anything tonight.
Aubrey?
Ditto Sarah. I don't have anything to say.
Brent?
Nope.
3 things that I got written down. Community center, how are we doing on that? Bringing out contractors?
We're doing good. We're still standing by, wait for the foundation to be raised. Choosing, colors for the cabinets and flooring
Right.
and that good stuff. The staff of City Hall is helping out with that because I'm not good at it.
Okay.
So, but we're making headway.
Okay. Do we know when the contractors roughly might be
We
out?
do not yet. They have not given us a date yet.
Okay. All right. Frontage Road and 2nd Street, we kind of already talked about that, but we're moving along. Bank transfer, Matt, how are we doing on that?
I'm working with our software company to get everything set up for what we need to switch over.
Okay. I want to make an example. Walmart, you might mind coming up. How are the sales at Walmart doing?
Sales doing great at Walmart.
Are you allowed to disclose kind of last year, or are we getting more sales, or what's the deal?
We're probably at about 10-13% for the year already. That was over, last year was another 10% increase, so definitely on the right track. Customer count's growing every month, really. We're up about, last month, 8.2% in customer count.
Awesome.
about 480-some thousand transactions we ran through last month.
Wow. Well, the reason why I asked that is because we always are talking about growth. And Walmart is a prime example. You are consistently growing every single year, right? I think you've grown even during bad times, right? Goddard's growing. And if we don't support this growth, then we're going to be dying. And so we have to keep growing. Walmart's a prime example of this. I hope that Russ is the same type of situation that you guys are growing. But if we don't support new growth, if we don't support this, we'll go stagnant. So we have to be willing to step up to the plate. And I'm so happy to have a council that all has that same type of mindset. So thank you guys. Well, that's about all I have to say, other than we're going to follow up with Ed next to Legali.
Yeah, there's some questions that have to be answered privately before we follow up with Mr.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What was your name, sir?
My name's Curtis, sorry, Curtis Gore.
Curtis. I didn't know.
He referred
I
to
didn't know
Mr.
if you wanted me to say
Walmart.
it.
Thank you for speaking.
Okay, we have an executive session. Yes, sir. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
I don't know what it's for, so I'm not saying it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to recess into executive session under KSA 75-4319, 1 and 3 to discuss personal matters and contract negotiations involving non-elected personnel, to include the city attorney and the police chief. We will reconvene the open meeting in the city council chambers at 8:45 after a 5-minute break.
Motion by Keith.
Second.
Second by Sarah. All in favor say aye. 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 show that there is no binding action taken during executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Sarah.
Second.
Second by Eden. All in favor say aye.
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 Mike.